and welcome to this installment of Frank and Mary here in Southborough. If you haven't seen this show before, my name is Art Bergeron. My day job, I'm an elder law attorney at Myrick O'Connell up the street in Westborough, but this is not about my day job. It's about my friends Frank and Mary. If you've seen presentations of mine in the past, you know that Frank and Mary's goal in life is to live in their house until they die and be buried in the backyard. And so the question is, if you identify with that, so who are the people you need to know about? What are the programs you need to know about in order to do just that and stay right here in Southborough? Although I'm told that our guest this week may be talking about what happens if in fact you do want to move, maybe from your house, but stay really close by. So my wonderful co-host is Doug Peck, who has been in Southborough for a long time. And his day job is working at an organization called Seniors Helping Seniors, which we've talked a lot about in the show, and it's just a wonderful organization. But one of his big tasks here is to find the great people in Southborough who do things in Southborough whom you really may want to know. And I think he's got a great one today. So Doug, whom do we have today?
We have with us a Marlborough resident, Nina Sable. I've known Nina for quite a few years. We've worked on a number of committees together. And she is a realtor. And so we're taking a little bit of a different turn, as you said. And because it may be that you necessarily don't want to sell, but something forces you to sell. And my guess is that most seniors have been in their home a long time. And so they haven't sold a home for years and years and years. And so it's changed a lot. And so Nina is here to sort of give us an overview, just in case you're thinking about it, or you're wondering what would happen if I had to sell, to have an idea of what is involved today in really selling a home and what can give you the best outcome when you do that. And Nina, I should say, also specializes in seniors. So she's got a great affinity for seniors. She works a lot with them, and she knows a lot of the complications that come up when seniors do try to sell their home, which is one reason I wanted her on the show today. So
great. And,
Nina,
by the way, I was reminded by Nina that we had actually met in a prior life, because she actually worked at Bay Path Elder Services, which is, yes, as we've had folks from Bay Path on here a number of times, right, to deal specifically with seniors all through this region. So right, that's a kind of sounds like it was a natural transition from Bay Path to what she's doing now.
Yeah, I think it was. So Nina, tell us a little bit. You're Marlborough, right? Have you been there a long time yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a Marlborough resident. Even though my office is in Natick, I have lived in Marlborough for almost 25 years now. So we live on the east side of Marlborough on the Sudbury line, and I raised 4 children, went through the public school system in Marlborough. And my husband and I are actually thinking maybe we don't want to be in Marlborough anymore, but it's a great, maybe we'll be in Southborough, I don't know. But we love the area. So we've been there a very long time. I have, like you said, I have a lot of experience working with seniors. I have a preference to work with older people. It is my specialty. One of my specialties is working with elders whose homes have gotten ahead of them, where the houses need a little bit of repair or even a lot of repair. And I can help them leave the houses without doing anything to their homes.
Oh, okay. So I'm sure there's a lot of anxiety around that, because you get to a certain age and you just, you don't know who to contact anymore. One thing leads to another and another, and you don't want to get involved in a big project like remodeling a bathroom or a kitchen or things like that. So tell us, what's sort of the first step then when somebody just says, look, I'm thinking about selling, what do I need to do?
So I'd love to be invited in to just have the conversation, even if they're not sure. Even if they're not totally ready, I would love to be invited in to help discuss what is the best course of action, especially if the house is not in great shape.
Okay.
And I always take my cues from them. I never insist that they have to remodel the house. If they're not interested in doing that, we adjust the price, and I can work with them through many channels to get the house sold in as is condition.
Mhm.
If they would like to remodel the house, then I would have that discussion with them also.
Okay. So you may also go in and say, gee, it really looks pretty good, but maybe if we thought about doing this, and maybe it was a $5,000 investment, a small one, to get just things up a little bit better, it's going to present better in the marketplace.
Right, and I don't know if you guys are paying attention to the market for 221, but there is very low inventory right now, and the houses are going 50 to sometimes 100,000 over asking
Wow.
because of the amount of buyers that are out there shopping right now because of the low rates. So now is the time, if anybody is hesitating, now is the time to start looking at it. And especially seniors where the house repairs have gotten ahead of them. Now might be the time where without doing too much work, they would be able to realize a high profit
Mhm.
getting out of the homes.
And I just want to kind of mention, to kind of go along with that, I think so often folks will, my friends Frank and Mary will be saying, well, we're thinking about selling the house, but this might not be the right time. The price, the values may still be going up. It is. So I've been doing this. So I'm 71. I've been doing this for a long time, and for many years before I was focusing on seniors, I had a general practice here in Marlborough, and all general practices have a big real estate component. So I watched this play out a lot of times. And it is pretty clear to me, based on all of that, that there's always, as I say, this inverse correlation between rates and price. So the lower the rates go, the higher the price goes. And so your question, I think if you're looking forward right now as a Frank or a Mary, is it realistic to think, if you're thinking of selling within now or within the next few years, is it realistic to think that rates are going to go any lower than this,
Mhm.
right, over the next few years, or that more likely the rates are going to increase, right? And if the rates increase, that means your house price is decreasing because the buyers walking in have that much less money that they can get in a mortgage in order to buy your house. So,
Mhm.
so it's just it's a great time to be thinking about, if you're thinking about it in the near term. When I say the near term, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years out, this is a good time to be thinking about it,
The other thing I want to mention about that is I just want to qualify that by saying one thing we always talk about is, where are you going? And do they have a place to go? And so I want to make sure that we're having that conversation before we're on the market. And that if if their true preference is to really stay in the house, that we're having that conversation also.
Mhm.
Because of the low inventory issue right now, it's really, really important to have that conversation with people so that we
Yeah.
don't affect other people that are involved in the
Right.
situation.
Right. So it sounds like, again, the mechanics of it, what you really need is a trusted advisor. So, and I'm not here to necessarily promote just one person, but I think it's a good idea for people to maybe to talk to 1 or 2 realtors and see who they feel comfortable with,
Yeah, if I
And
can recommend that people have the conversation early
Mhm.
before they're in a situation where they're pressed for time or they
Right.
have to get out. If they invite a realtor in maybe 3 to 6 months before they're actually thinking about making that decision, I think they'll have time to really evaluate and also choose the right professional for them.
Mhm.
It's really important when you choose a realtor to get along with the person and have a really trusted advisor relationship, because it's a long process
Yeah.
that you'd be together.
Yeah. It's because particularly because there are so many people out there, you don't know. I know I certainly wouldn't know what to do if I had 20 people making an offer on my house. What's better? Who's got what mortgage already approved and everything. So,
Yeah, you want to make sure you choose a realtor that has command over the banking piece also. And
Okay,
also a realtor that is also connected to a trusted advisor, like a good attorney or somebody that has the skills to really understand all the parts of the whole with the offers that are in front of them. Because you don't want to have to take your house off the market and then put it back on. So
uh,
you want to make sure that the banking piece is strong, the attorney piece is strong, and all the parts of the whole formulate a strong person in front of you. It could get tricky if the house has to go back on the market.
okay. One other, I'm sorry, go ahead, Arthur.
I was just going to ask Nina, I know going back to something you said earlier, you said, there are occasions where you may recommend some kinds of changes to the house. And I'm sure that, that's among other things, a function of who the people are who are out there, and I know that you've been doing this now for quite a while. Can you just kind of talk about, from that seller's perspective, there are a lot of seniors who've got houses, and who may be selling. Who are the buyers? Who are they? Who is there a typical buyer, and kind of what are they looking for today when they're out there buying?
So it's unbelievable to me that in today's market, when you do an open house, what the variety is in types of people. Young, old, all ages seem to be walking open houses. But buyers are typically looking for fresh. They are typically looking for remodeled. Those are the ideal situations. There is also a different type of buyer who will be looking for a more distressed home so that they can get a good price on it. So there are really kind of like two types of buyers. The ones that are really looking for the fresh, they don't want to have to do anything. They just want to walk in, turn the key, and have that type of home. But there are also these buyers, builders, investors, different types of buyers that are looking for homes that need work. So either scenario would work well if whatever the seller's preference is. Trust me, there are buyers. But if you want to get the most dollar for your house, there is some logic in putting a little paint in, maybe refinishing the floors, and maybe dressing it up with some cute accessories to get it sold at a higher price.
So when you talk about a remodel, I guess, so that was going to be kind of the next question. So when you're thinking about those buyers who you were saying they want fresh, right? Or they want remodeled, what would you mean by that? If you were talking, because once again, you're looking at a lot of houses, that Frank and Mary live in, and so they've been there for a long time. And as far as they're concerned, it looks pretty good, because they've been there for a long time, right? So when you're saying fresh, what is, can you talk a little bit more about what that remodel means?
So if they want to spend money, if they want to maximize the value in the house, and in this market, because there's a lot of buyers out there that are willing to pay over for a fresh house, there is some logic in putting paint into the house, refinishing the floors, possibly changing the countertops, and maybe freshening up some bathrooms. There are all kinds of tricks now where you can paint tile, you can epoxy over a bathtub. So there are ways that are more cost effective than remodeling your entire bathroom to get it sold. The other avenue that works well is to have a stager come in and dress up the house and tailor it and make it feel fresh with accessories. So those are kind of like.
Can you talk to that when you say make it feel fresh with accessories? What does that? Can you give some examples of what that means?
So there's all kinds of. I would recommend pillows, blankets on the side, maybe changing out some of the older furniture and putting in cute accessory tables, changing up the rugs, putting newer, fresher rugs that are more trendy at this time period. Maybe changing out if they have old floral curtains and putting in plain sheers, putting in a plain white shower curtain, things that simplify the decorating. That way you increase your number of buyers. you don't want to reduce your buyer pool. You want to make sure the buyers coming in is maximized. And so you don't want to cater to one style preference or the other. So we try to keep it neutral and try to maximize and make it basically appeal to everybody. And we do that by taking out heavy colors and taking out heavy patterns. For example, behind you, Arthur, that would come out.
My wallpaper would come out, but it's so historic, you know.
So that might reduce your buyer pool. So we do things to just tailor it down to increase the number of buyers that would come in. We don't want to, that is actually beautiful what is behind you, but we don't want it to be a preference, shrink your preference for who would come in. So those are more cost-effective options. They're, you know, having a stager come in is much cheaper than remodeling your house.
And you're by doing that, you know, the goal is you want to, don't pretend you're the buyer. You know, I keep trying to emphasize to folks, don't pretend that what was attractive to you when you bought this house or would be right now is necessarily going to what you were just saying is attractive to this kind of pool that's out there. You need to talk to somebody who knows what that pool looks like in order to get a real sense of how to deal with your house.
And I try to tell people your house is now a commodity. It's really not your home anymore, because you're going to have strangers walking it. People are going to be looking at it as if it's a product on the market compared with a home. So we want to try to make it appeal like as if it's a showcase on the market compared with your private home. And I had this happen with a particular home in Grafton where it was beautiful, like historic home, but she had it too personalized. And the buyers, she had red carpeting, and it was a beautiful home with very heavy wood. So we had to take out all the heavy colors. Once we did that, it sold right away. So it's really important to neutralize it so that more buyers appeal.
So that leads me to my next question is, so a realtor nowadays, you're just not negotiating a dollar value. You're really helping to bring in other people. And I know the other anxiety that people have is, because you talked about all this stuff, is all their stuff. What do I do with it? You know, how do I begin to go through it all? You know, because again, that's probably a couple of months worth of work. So would you help as well? I know they're called move managers, to bring somebody in to help you get organized so you can move out, keep what you want, and, you know, make sure whatever else can go to the best home that you can find for it.
Yeah, I've worked very turnkey with a lot of older people where they've just given me the key and then I've cleaned it out for them. So I have resources, you know, like move managers. Also, I have places where people, because a lot of people feel very strong about their belongings and they don't want to just toss them. So I have resources where I can, their stuff can be repurposed or resold. And so that they can feel good about getting rid of their stuff also. But we also partner with, there's all kinds of new businesses that have come up. The whole junk industry has come up. Those guys are fantastic. They come in your house, you just point and the stuff is gone. So there are a lot of different resources to clean out your house now. That part of it has changed a lot, and there's a lot less stress related to that part of it.
Which is exactly the kind of anxiety that Frank and Mary would be feeling. Like, oh my God, how are we, you know, it's like, it's 30 years of stuff. How are we ever going to deal with this?
Right.
And I know a lot of people feel very tied to their stuff. They don't want to let go of it, or they want it to go to another home. And I have a lot of resources where the stuff can be repurposed and they can feel good about where it's going.
Yeah. So this is why I wanted people just to start thinking about it, Arthur. It's a big, long process. You know, it's just the actual, you know, idea of, you know, signing something over is the very end of a long journey, and you want someone on that journey who can really have your best interest in mind and help you along and help you decide, what is the best, best way to do this.
But I think
Particularly
one of
for
the things that
seniors.
one of the things I think is a great point, Doug, is that this also, from the perspective of Frank and Mary, make it to some extent less anxiety producing, because you're saying to yourself, you don't feel guilty about calling the broker, although you're not thinking of selling the house for the next year, because that's not a bad thing to be kind of
Right.
figuring out well in advance and figuring out when you want to, when you want your house to go in, and for example, I know that I always think in terms of a selling season, the selling season, I remember one broker telling me selling season opens up the weekend after the Super Bowl. It's when people start for the first time, they're like, well, now what are we going to do? Right.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of looking around for stuff. But on the other hand, if you're not thinking of selling right now, if you're thinking of selling soon, you don't want to be putting it on the market like in November, before everything is kind of like closing down. So, having a plan, having him sit down and really talk to somebody and have a plan, it seems like a great idea.
And
Yeah.
I just want to speak to that, Arthur, in that the real estate season has really changed. I think we are a year-round business. There are tricks to selling it in every market. So if people are thinking about it in a market that doesn't seem like a hot market, there are always pros and cons to selling in an off market also. So around Christmas time, there are a lot of investors out looking. So it's still an opportune market. So they shouldn't be deterred by that. But the other point I just wanted to say to you guys is they should be really thinking that the real estate site situation, getting involved with a realtor, is really like almost sometimes 3 to 6 months. So from start to finish, from cleaning up the house to getting it sold to basically getting it closed and cleaning it up on the other end. So they definitely want to they really want to give themselves 3 to 6 months to plan for it, and then another 6 months to sell it.
Yeah, which means they really have to like the person that they're working with, because that's a long time to spend with.
It is. Yeah, it's a
with
really
somebody,
long time.
And
it's a very stressful experience at times.
Yeah.
So they definitely want to.
Especially when someone's telling you what to do with your house.
Right.
That carpet's great, but it's got to go.
Yeah.
That's really hard. Those are really
Yes.
hard conversations, right?
It is. Well, this has been very helpful.
This is terrific.
Yeah.
So kind of as final words to folks, Nina, is that you always hear brokers saying, "Oh, it's a great time to sell." Is this a great time to sell? It feels like it to me.
All I'm going to say is this is the best year to sell. You will maximize your value this year for sure, because no one else is on the market. There is very little inventory. So this would be the year. If you're on the fence, I would say this is the year. Or if your house came off the market last year and you couldn't get it sold, this would be a great year to put it back on.
I mean, I saw interest rates. My wife pointed it out to me last night. The 30-year fixed rate was below 2%.
Yeah.
Below 2%.
That's crazy.
How often are you going to see that? That's crazy.
Right. How often? Let me put it this way: how often? Ask yourself, if you're Frank, how often have you seen that in your lifetime?
Right.
In your lifetime, right?
Yeah.
So what are the chances that rate's going to stay for a long time? So if you're thinking about it, so listen, this has been great. Doug, thanks so much for doing this. And you always find these great people. I think this is really timely. It's spring. If you're thinking about it, the message, you got to talk to somebody. You got to talk to somebody. This is a long-term, this is a long-term thing. But the flip side of that is, don't feel guilty about calling Nina or calling a broker to start having this conversation, even though you may not be thinking right now that you want to sell right now. You may change your mind or not, but at least now you're going to really know ahead of time. So Nina, thank you so much for this. This has really been great.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
And Doug, thanks as usual for finding another great guest. And folks, we hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next installment of Frank and Mary here in Southborough. Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks.
Thank
See you,
you.
everybody.